Hey folks, welcome back to Real Estate Investing Unmasked. Today we're going to talk about a question that was sent to me today. This is the question that was posed to me. Hi, I'm considering purchasing some properties, one to start, but I'll be buying more in the near future in an area where I can pay cash for a property in the $50,000 range. It's just a straight out purchase and rent out with minimal improvements. Paying cash increases monthly cash flow, but it really lowers cash on cash returns, so I'm conflicted. It'll also improve my debt to income for future loans, which has been a struggle up to this point. Would you always want to leverage your properties to maximize cash on cash, or are you happy with extra cash flow and no loan on some of your properties? I know there's no definite right or wrong. Just want to get your information. I have done this. I've bought property that was $50,000 and less. I've bought property at $20,000. I've had options on property to buy. I had an option to buy a duplex for $4,000 that I bought for $20. So there are definitely ways that you can do what this fellow is asking. As far as my opinion, I would buy it cash. If you got the ability to buy a property cash, I would buy it cash. And the reason for that is psychologically, whenever you have a renter that leaves, or whenever somebody busts up your property, or if you just can't rent it out because they left it just the wrong season or whatever it is, it's much easier to mentally take in that you're not receiving rent when the only thing you have to pay is taxes and insurance, especially if you're paying your taxes and insurance on a yearly basis, on an annual basis, because then if you have nobody in the property, it's no skin off your nose. However, if you do have a loan, then you're hurting. Most likely you're trying to figure out how you're going to get that payment to come in, and you're also more in a rush to get a tenant into that property. So I really love having the properties paid off cash. Now, as far as affecting the debt to income and some of the other things, if you're buying a property that is for sale for less than $50,000, likely all you need to do is get some seller financing. A lot of times bankers and lenders don't lend on properties that are for $50,000 or less. You have to get some other kind of financing. And the way I've done it usually is I got seller financing. Sellers usually have some equity in the property and they're willing to sell it to you. Properties that are only $50,000 in today's market will not appreciate, not very much. So you're not buying the property for the appreciation, you're buying it for the rent. So here are the other precautions that I said to this person when I replied personally. And that is that if you're going to be buying a property for $50,000, you need to make sure there are a couple of things going on in your favor. One, make sure it's in a good area. Two, that you're familiar with the area. If you live close by to this area and you know it, hey, go ahead and buy the thing because you're close by, you know the area, you know this is going to be a better part of town or whatnot. The other thing is, do you want to rent it monthly or do you want to rent it as a vacation rental? And if you want to do it as a short-term vacation rental, for instance, right now, I'm in Georgia. I'm in Epworth, Georgia. You've never heard of it, most likely. But I'm in a beautiful area, tons of trees, tons of forests and rivers and all kinds of amazing things. So here I'm in Epworth, Georgia, right on the border of Tennessee and Georgia. And I'm in a house that probably costs about $200,000. And it is a vacation rental for sure. Now, I paid about $1,500, I believe, for this week to be here. That is a lot more than the mortgage. Not a lot, but on a weekly basis is a lot more. So I basically paid their month's mortgage with my 1 week rental. So short-term rentals can bring you in a ton of money as long as you're in a place where people want to go. So if you're buying a property for $50,000 or less, which is totally doable in a lot of the country, then you need to make sure it's in a good area that can rent out easily for a month-to-monther, or that it can rent out easily for a short-term rental. Now, we're in the middle of COVID-19 and all the craziness that's happening around that. So if you're going to buy it for a short-term rental, also make sure that it can be converted to a monthly rental if need be. Maybe it's going to be on a month-to-month basis. Maybe you need to have it close to a place where businesses like to send their employees for some kind of retreats or something so that you'll get commercial business as well. And during COVID-19, businesses aren't sending people out. People aren't vacationing. I'm the oddball out that I am vacationing during COVID-19 because I see this as a time to get out and see things that people aren't going out to see. So the lines and the crowds are so much lower than they would have been if I'd have come out, say, last year around this time. Matter of fact, the rent for my Airbnb, I got a 25% discount because I'm coming during this time. So keep that in mind when you're buying a property for $50,000, that you want to lock in that return. And usually they are really good returns on the rent, because the places that sell them for $50,000 are places like the Dayton, Ohio's, or the Evansville, Indiana's, or places where they have some property, that a little excess property, and your rent is going to be the 1 to 2% sometimes of what your property sells for. So I say more power to you, but just be careful. Don't do something out of state that is $50,000 or less, unless you are ready to take on that pain. And the person that asked this question, they're very new. I could tell because they asked what a HELOC was, a home equity line of credit. So if you're very new to the game, don't buy a property that's super cheap just because it's super cheap. Make sure you've done your homework, because it can also turn around and bite you. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my opinion on this, and I've got some other questions I'm going to answer here in a little bit. Now that I'm on vacation, I'm going to take a little bit of time. So don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.